prep in the draft and a good plan. Answering and not answering the question at the same time.
We've trained them so well.
Yeah, they're very, very ready to give us as little information as possible. But there will be some sort of strategy to beat Adam. I guess we'll have to see what it is. The top lane, naturally, a pretty exciting part of this matchup. But for both these teams, of course, 3-0. Somebody has to walk away. 4-0 undefeated, one step closer to... It feels like locking early. Of course, they won't actually be locked if either of these teams manage to go through immediately on a 5-0 week, but...
You've got to think about it, that if both bottom teams go 0-5, 5 wins does lock you. So, like, they're in a great position, you know what I mean? Like, this week, if either of these teams do go 2-0, like, we've never had a team go 5 wins and not make top 8, right? Yeah. So, even if you couldn't lock it in right now, the probability is incredibly high. So, a lot on the line for both these teams. A 4-0 start to the first, well, I guess the first, it's the half? Yeah, I guess it would be the first half, because we're now a 4-week regular season, yeah. It's exciting times. Let's see what they've cooked up for us today. I feel like that we are seeing a different version of BDS, and a lot of it comes in the jungle. Sheo playing Taliyah, Karthus, Viego. I was looking back at his last split performance. Sejuani was his most played. Into Xinjiao, into Maokai, into these utility, tanky type, supportive champions. And again, we saw some carry performances. We've seen his Jax, we've seen his Viego before, but I feel like that he's being given a lot more agency, and I feel like that the team is actually doing a lot with it. So I'm excited to see what the show is today as they go up against an SK who's played almost a different draft every single game. The only consistency is Isma's had 2 Sejuani games, but they've shown us a different champion every single game. So these feel like very different teams to what we've had compared to the first half of the year.
And I think evolution for both these squads, unsurprising given the 3-0 start, but always a pleasure to see, especially for a team like BDS, who for so long has played a very similar style of League of Legends. They branched out once or twice last season in the regular season, and now the question is, was it a flash in a pan? Was it a single week where they wanted to try things? When push comes to shove, are they going to go back to what is comfortable, what is easy, or will they continue to evolve in that way that we've been waiting to see for so long? Of course, the Rumble locked in, high priority pick, not surprising, but it does mean giving up the Skarner, and finally we get to cast a Skarner game.
Okay.
Which is great because I hate him every time I have to play against him, but now I can talk about someone else playing against him, and that sounds like a good time.
I mean, he's, in my opinion, he's a very simple, straightforward champion, not too complicated, and I mean, what's crazy to me is we're seeing Adam prioritize the Rumble, a champion you don't typically associate with him as a player. Excited to see him match up against Irrelevant on the Skarner, and you have to imagine that that was the idea behind the Rumble priority, because it has to still be the best matchup into most melee matchups, right? So even if Skarner is considered very powerful, I think the BDS is going to be happy with that matchup. They're going to bring out once again the Jinx and the Rell, a consistent bot lane that BDS have been taking advantage of, with the Corki and the Alistar response. So just want to emphasize, 3, again, unique champions from SK, continuing to showcase their champion depth here in the Summer Split.
Continuing to prioritize also for Rahel more early game skewed AD carries, right? The poke Varus, we've also got the Kai'sa, the Luon, very dominant early on, as Ice on the opposite side, continuing, yes, he's played a Senna game, this is his 3rd Jinx game. Yep. BDS, while a lot changed around the jungle position, it still feels like they really value that core of scaling AD carry on the bottom side, but now we enter the 2nd phase of bans, Olaf taken away, as well as the LeBlanc, giving a little bit of credibility, I guess, to a Rumble flex option to come through. Sylas now off the board as well, a champion who would love to have an Alistar or Skarner all at his disposal.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a solid ban. We'll see what SK is thinking about to lock in here. I think they want to save mid for last pick. You've already seen the AD carry, you know what you're playing into. I wonder if they're contemplating something like a Varus. Caitlyn, many people were telling me she was broken coming into the split, and we haven't seen a single one yet. I wonder if the adjustments after, what was it, the 14-11 patch, 14-10 patch, she got a few changes made to her that I wonder if those pushed her out of pro play. But right now, Maokai. Oh, Corki, of course, can be played in that AD carry position as well. I'm so used to seeing it in mid. Yeah. When you were talking about that early game champion, I was just like, well, why would it be? That doesn't make any sense.
And this is a champion that absolutely smashes early game. Balance out by the fact that Alistar isn't the strongest early on. That said, Isma, you know, it feels like Sheo has been unshackled in terms of the carry option in his pool this year. But Isma, it feels like the role that SK are consistently going for is that he is the guy who is going to take the more supportive option. And now we have a Mordekaiser, which gives a little bit of credit to this Rumble going somewhere we may not have expected.
Well, hang on a minute. Is this a Rumble jungle?
It could
is
be
this a
Rumble
Rumble mid?
Or is it just double flex? How deep do we go?
BDS, what have you cooked for us?
It's a lot of magic damage, whatever it is that they've
cooked.
cooked.
It certainly is, you're right. That is a great point.
But I also really... Varus now...
Mid. So it's a Rumble jungle.
And a Mordekaiser top?
I would assume so.
I mean, it has to be, right? Because it can't be anything
Mordekaiser,
else.
the QSS changes happened, right?
But also, just to shout out BDS, we waited for an entire year. We said, hey, you need to evolve. Top 2 was good. How much further can you go? We said evolution was the path. They showed us a little bit in spring. This is the wackiest draft I've ever seen for BDS in my entire life.
What are we thinking here?
Kai'Sa. Okay.
So it is Corki mid.
Are we playing draft ARAM? What is happening here?
I mean, okay,
I need to see where they go. We just wait. We don't need to.
Yeah, we just wait. We can
Mordekaiser, top. Why would he be great? Isolates single targets. Always fantastic to have. Skarner, hard to disrupt a team fight when you're trapped in the Thunderdome with Mr. Mordekaiser.
All right, so I'm just reminding myself of some of the Mordekaiser changes because I know that he was changed in 14-11.
He was a beneficiary of a lot of the item changes. Swaps slightly delayed here, I've been told.
They nerfed his...
passive.
It's his passive, is it? Because I only know them QW. Yeah, they didn't put that down.
Yeah, darkness
so they nerfed his
rise.
passive, and then they, I think they buffed his Q, right?
They hit his Q a little bit, just because it was dominating at lower elos. Mordekaiser notoriously powerful, but now the swaps are correct. You can see them on your screen. We got a Varus in the mid lane, a Rumble in the jungle, a Mordekaiser top. BDS certainly cooking up something new for us today. On the opposite side for SK, I'm going to say up until that Kai'Sa was feeling a little bit more standard, but have been forced to show us something a little bit different, a little bit adaptation. The Corki now in the mid lane, the Kai'Sa in bottom lane, and this lane is going to be rough. Kai'Sa Alistar, guys, is not it for the early levels, but perhaps SK's bottom lane is good enough to pilot it through anyway. It's our first game of week 2, 4th game of the season overall for both of these lineups. Only one can walk away undefeated. BDS and SK getting ready. Both sides cooking, but who's going to be the Michelin star chef and who's making ketchup and spaghetti with Vedius?
Hey, ketchup makes the tomato sauce sweeter, okay? I'm just saying. We're jumping into our first game of week 2. Reminder to our viewers at home, for Summer Split, it's a 4-week regular season rather than 3. We're down to 2 games a weekend rather than 3. So for the pros, it's a little less intense. You get an extra week to fight for your life in the top 8 playoffs because they are super important as we gear up for a bit of a brawl.
Irrelevant. A little upheaval, throwing a rock at him. Nisqy Halo Blades, all right. Nothing too crazy here.
But you know what, Drako? This is what makes me excited about like big changes because last week I felt like that we still were tied down to very meta. You know, like I felt like that the game didn't actually change that much. This, though, this comes across as a very different game. The introduction of Mordekaiser to the LEC, a Rumble jungle from Sheo. We were already talking about how his pool seems to be evolving, changing, and him providing a different kind of role on the side of BDS, and we're seeing his 3rd AP champion in the form of the Rumble. Excited to see what sort of early game impact he can have. And I think one of the other things is Labrov, when he gets his hands on this Rell specifically, he makes BDS that much more proactive in the early game. I think one of the big criticisms I've had of this team is that they can be quite slow. They don't actually push their lead very well. But I think when you give Labrov a champion like this, and he works with such high damage carry junglers that Sheo has been bringing out, I think that they have been a lot more proactive in this early game.
And I also like that if you're going to cook, if you're going to try new things on the stage in a regular season, that you kept some things the same. And that is the bottom lane for the side of BDS. We're no strangers to seeing this Jinx Rell combination. We'll have to see how it matches up into the Alistar Kai'Sa. Not going to be favored for the first few levels at least. Aftershock versus Aftershock early on, but obviously, range advantage for Jinx makes this so difficult, and Alistar needs a few levels before he really does anything. Alistar level 1, notoriously terrible.
Yeah, for sure. It also doesn't help that Kai'Sa's a relatively short-range AD carry, and I do think that SK's comp overall, like, Corki isn't the same poke machine that he was in the past, right?
No, absolutely not.
You would typically associate him with being part of those long-range poke comps, but that's not quite how it works anymore. which means that SK's comp overall, their damage threats are relatively short range. You're playing into a Varus Jinx who are trying to leverage a bit more of that range as well. You've also got the Rumble ultimate available to you too, as the SK bot lane take a very nice trade there onto Labrov.
Oh,
so I wonder how this range is going to play into how this range is going to play into the later game in terms of how these fights executed. As I am expecting some pretty crazy fights, because you look at SK, they've got a lot of engage, right? Maokai, Alistar, Skarner's going to be running at you as well, the flash pull.
And interesting because this lane, I think partially due to the fact that SK were forced to kind of flex the Corki up into mid lane, has put Rahel and Luon at an early disadvantage, whereas for most of the season, we have seen them fighting for 2v2 kills very early on. This is the first time that they're actually clearly on the back foot, and we'll need to see how they adapt, right? Because they've played so many lanes that are more about being aggressive. Yes, Lucian Nami first couple levels aren't insane, but the way they played it, you could see what they wanted to get done. Now, when they're not set up to necessarily be the most proactive in the isolated 2v2, what does their level of performance look like? Because their individual strength was so big for SK in week 1.
Let's turn our attention to the junglers. You'll notice that Sheo actually pathing back up towards top. He's going to spot out this Maokai. The Varus has prio, and Adam is moving over to help.
Isma.
Adam doesn't have
back up.
a huge amount of HP. Irrelevant's forcing this wave underneath the tower, and Adam has to respect it, which means that there's no real way for Sheo to contest this unless he feels confident. Actually, maybe with Nuke here he can.
The slow alone is going to do a little bit of work here. Quick slow. Happy to just smite the crab away.
Okay, so Sheo gets what he wants. Good stuff there from Nuke. Even though they didn't have Prowl on the top side of the map, they're able to fight back through mid. Labrov has already made his way over towards mid lane again. A lot of support here for Nuke in the mid lane.
First on the roam. But I think the big struggle here is that this is not the highest damage duo. You know, Alistar Maokai early on could burst out a squishy champion, but you don't really have that much threat. Nisqy does more than balance it out with the Halo Blades. Corki, this is an incredibly oppressive champion early on, but you have to get in range, you have to find the angle to make it work. As we watch here, walk up, auto.
Oh, nice trade back from Nuke.
Steps back, gets out of the Gatling gun, doesn't let Nisqy really get full value there. And that was not the trade that he was looking for. Nuke, flash out from Nisqy.
He didn't trust the damage. He already thought the Nuke had kill threat on him. Well played there by Nuke, held his ground, even into a fully stacked minion wave. In a position like that, normally you'd want to try and retreat, especially AD carries. You've got all that aggro from the minions hitting under your face, all that extra damage, but still, Nuke played it well. I think back to spring where, I mean, overall, Nuke has just had an impressive year. You got to remember that he is the player that, well, originally Sjokz, then BDS.
Sjokz, then BDS, the guy that they decided to build a franchise around, who it feels like now this is the year where they're finally starting to reap the seeds that they sowed so long ago, because it was a big question for a lot of fans. Why have you kept this guy for so long? But this year, the answer is becoming super apparent, because getting a flash for free in the 1v1 now makes Sheo's life so easy if he wants to repeat gank mid.
I mean, let's not forget that BDS so far this year finished second in winter, and then they finished, why have I forgotten my year?
They were top 3 both times.
Top 3 both times. That's what I was thinking to myself, yeah. I mean, overall, BDS have had a great year. They've cemented themselves at the top of the LEC. And they're looking to do the same thing already here in Summer. Again, both these teams fighting to go 4-0 already. It's been a pretty slow early game, 6 minutes in. We haven't seen any ganks, but here's our first swap from BDS. They want to move out of the bot lane 2 versus 2. Look to try and play for the early grubs.
Okay, Death Realm coming in. Adam gonna Q flash forward to keep Irrelevant close. Ice waiting on the other side. He's surely dead. As soon as this Death Realm fades, everyone just gonna turn and burn that Skarner down. BDS grabbing first blood. Aggressive maneuver from Adam paying off.
What a great gank setup. Luon looking to get some space back.
It's done there. Ulti coming out. Good damage on a Luon. Luon blinking health bar, but BDS don't really feel confident enough to follow up. Sheo already grabbing 2 grubs. And you're right, that was just, it didn't cost a whole lot. Yes, Adam had to burn his flash, but by having the teammates there, he ensured that he won the ensuing fight. Engage now, no coming in. Irrelevant level 6, might just try to lock up Labrov. Labrov now running, flashing away. Irrelevant doesn't even want to ult yet. Just gonna walk forward. Just gonna take his sweet time, finish him off with the upheaval. Irrelevant, grabbing that kill back.
BDS, I mean, they do end up losing a member, but that sequence of plays was genuinely really, really good. the fact that they make that swap early, then they commit Adam's ultimate to basically lock Irrelevant in place to set up for both Sheo and Ice to arrive to then secure that kill. That then guarantees them numbers advantage on the top side of the map to convert into the grubs. And that was the whole premise behind the swap in the first place. We've been seeing it more and more where these teams will do these early swaps to be able to contest early grubs thanks to the buffs that we've been seeing. And now it sets you up nicely as well because you can even afford to sacrifice the next respawn of the grubs, perhaps for some early plates.
Relevant coming through. Excellent use of the Shattering Strike from Labrov to stop the follow-up damage. Relevant just throws a rock out of frustration, but nothing else going to come from it. Obviously, the playmaking potential of Skarner is very high, but this is a pick that now, at this point in the cycle, it's been around for quite some time, so everybody knows how it works in the pro scene. You're not going to surprise anyone.
I will say, the only thing I miss from the old Skarner is that little sound effect you get when you press his W, and it sounds like he's scurrying.
I miss how he looks like very serious.
He's
now.
so serious.
He's
now.
so serious.
Yeah. But you're right, you definitely lost some of that goofiness to him. But I think overall, it's a good change. I mean, obviously, because he's really overpowered now.
Yeah, also he's being played in pro, except for, you know, it's not just like 2015 from one random LPL team anymore. Like, people actually play this champ. So that's probably a good sign. Does look like the Elden Ring boss on this skin, though.
It's true.
I feel like we should be fighting this and then going to save Ronnie at any moment.
Well, the first dragon of the game is still available. So pings are coming down from SK. It's a potential option. You can see Isma clearing out his top side, going to be making his way towards the bot half of the map. Sheo already in the area. It's that fight for priority that's going to be super important. Isma with the level 6 now. Sheo level 7. There's a full level difference between the two junglers right now. Sheo taking advantage of that very fast clear speed. But overall, a bit of an advantage gain for BDS. Things looking promising. SK though, I don't think they have to crazy snowball the early game. I think their mid game is very powerful. Once they've got that first item spike, I think is going to be where they can try and leverage some of these early skirmishes. But we'll see Dragon becoming the big point of contention. You see both mid laners hovering around the bot side river. It's BDS that have primary vision control for now.
Full engage though, now coming in to head, but Pulverize. But immediately the equalizer comes out and the play is going to stop in its tracks. Isma burns his flash though.
Exactly, that's a big commitment for a kill that they didn't get. Labrov didn't have his flash available, but he's still able to get out. And it means that that flash from the Maokai not going to be available for any ensuing fights, at least for the next few minutes. So, small advantage gain for BDS overall. Able to push in the bot wave as well. Reset coming through. Berserker's Greaves now picked up for Ice. Likely heading towards the early Kraken Slayer that we've been seeing a lot from Jinx players. And again, they make the swap happen. Oh, we saw this so much in their match against G2. You throw the rocket out for a tempo advantage just to interrupt the bases so you can get to lane faster. It was something that Summer had to face consistently in their matchup last week. Unfortunately for Ice, the rocket doesn't quite connect, which means that the resets are able to come through for Rahel and Luon. They're going to be able to recognize that the swap is happening. They're making their way towards the top side of the map, but it is Ice that makes his way to lane first.
And of course, the changes that came through tower fortifications have already fallen away. So if Jinx gets any time left alone on that top side tower, we'll just start knocking those plates down. But as you mentioned before, because the base doesn't get canceled, Rahel is going to get there at about the same time.
Look at the grubs again. The timing is flawless from BDS. Their map movements are great. Their timings are good. They're doing all of the correct plays to set up for this grub's priority, and they're set up to secure the 6 now. All 4 members are here. Adam is making his way up to Irrelevant. I don't think has his TP, he doesn't.
Ooh, and this is frustrating. Giving a Jinx team the 4 grub buff is not going to feel good. Ulti coming out from the Maokai. BDS just going to zoom away. Ice standing onto the try, trying to stop them from getting in. Labrov might just have to go down for this one. Luon now level 6, trying to fire back. Oh. Excellent equalizer from Sheo, and Adam's already into the thick of the fight. He can isolate anyone he wants, but he's holding on. He's taking his time upheaval. The rock coming out from Irrelevant. Trying to get a bit more space. Will pull back. I mean, overall, the Labrov 40 in HP barely manages to make it out. Death Realm coming through.
Can't quite connect onto Nisqy. Adam's going to be forced to retreat.
I forgot how impossible it was to see what's happening in the Death Realm. Irrelevant grabbing the kill. It was Nisqy versus Adam, but then the rest of SK got involved.
So SK almost didn't get anything off the back of that, but they were able to catch Adam off guard thanks to Irrelevant's ulti. They're able to find that pick, so it ends up being a kill for 6 grubs. BDS got what they wanted. They thought that they were going to lose Labrov. He was able to get away with his life, and I think overall they'll be happy with this. Is SK not even choosing to start the Dragon just yet. TP committed top lane to keep that tower alive, and BDS setting themselves up nicely here in the early game.
Yeah, this is an excellent start. I mean, the good news for SK is that Rahel has finally managed to grab the Static Shiv, will help with wave clear a bit, also with the changes, obviously no longer offers crit, but if you get a kill, it does offer that extra little burst of damage in the middle of the fight. Is a good item, will help balance out some of what Ice is doing, but overall, BDS with a small gold lead and an advantage. Rahel already caught out, he can ult, but it's not going to do much of anything now, trying to ghost out or E out, excuse me, the rest of SK on the way. Sheo desperate to get the kill, but all the follow-up is there. Down he goes, he makes it a 1-for-1. Rahel did not need to do that, but he stepped back into the fire, and he gets taken out.
Debatable if you really needed to commit that much, but hey, he gets the kill. Rahel loses his flash.
Labrov
needs to chill out here.
Over-committing. Jinx Rocket dangerously close. Ulti from the Maokai. We just praised BDS for being so clean, so consistent in their decision-making, and they get over-eager 2 times consecutively.
But have they successfully interrupted the dragon? This is a very late first dragon, 13 minutes in. We turn our attention to top lane now. Adam getting very low.
Ulti coming out. Rell just looking for the solo kill. Adam can immediately shield. Will do so, gets the health coming in as well. Only 200 HP remaining. Does he think he can stay on this wave? Relevant not going to push the advantage, uses his E to back away.
Nuke sitting in the river means that Adam happy to stay. So you can see that Skarner's still quite the lane bully, regardless of the matchup.
Also, Vedius, I feel like we were looking at mid and Nisqy was getting pretty handled in trades. You know, Nuke was doing really well. Now he's 2-0-1 as a collector and additional pickaxe.
Yeah, I mean, that bot lane play was not it for BDS.
Yeah.
Big blunder for them. Like, I could understand Sheo wanting to trade 1-for-1. I think that once he got that flash out from Rahel, in my opinion, that was the win, you know?
Yeah.
The fact that he decided to commit to it. Sure, I think it's fine. Ultimately, it shouldn't really hurt him in the long run. Always having a flash is potentially helpful, but really the mistake came from Labrov afterwards. We didn't get full clarity on exactly why he chose to overstay there, but losing 2, they're also now going to concede the dragon. They're not really in a good map position to contest anything else either. The Herald is now alive, so perhaps this could be an opportunity for them to get that mid control and move into the top river, secure that objective, which can then make it easier to siege onto the mid tier 1.
I also saw there in the lower third that FLICKR has over 83 unique mid lane picks.
Wow.
Does he get bonus credit for champions who are reworked? Because it's kind of a new pick if you play it pre and post rework.
Personally.
Death Realm going in on a Nisqy. Adam feeling good about this one, but he's going to find himself in the waiting arms of a tree quite quickly. Nisqy trying to backstep, but instead he just delivered himself, and Adam wins this in isolation. If he has enough time, Shield going to come in. Does he have the W cooldown to get the health back? Backing up.
A little bit more time.
Leaves a little bit more time for the W. The Pulverize doesn't hit.
Slow.
The pullback is good. It's big damage. Suddenly they're like, I'm not so sure about this one, but in goes Kai'sa. Rahel here to back him up and bring in the kill, but still just a 1-for-1. In the meantime, Sheo's taking the Herald. Rocket
nice
narrowly
awareness.
sidestepped.
Great awareness there from Isma. The Herald will go down in favor of BDS, but Adam, I mean, he's living up to the raid boss moniker. I know that when the rework happened for Mordekaiser, they wanted him to have that raid boss-esque feel, slow-moving, heavy weaponry, that if you're fast, you can dodge, but when he locks you in that prison, there's very few places for you to go. Unfortunately, no dodge roll here in League of Legends, so no iframe's gonna save you today, I'm afraid.
Not gonna have that angle. I mean, look. Mordekaiser are terrifying. Doubly so because most of your damage gonna be physical. Not a whole lot of magic. You get a bit of split from the Kai'Sa, most certainly. Likely the Ginsu second, so it'll be okay in terms of overall damage. But if Mordekaiser just builds a bit of armor, he can lock any of those carries in the Thunderdome, and I don't think they win that 1v1.
I have this image in my head, purely fabricated, but Adam being like, is there any chance I can get next Friday off? And they're like, why? He's like, Elden Ring DLC. And they're like, how about we compromise?
How about we compromise? How about we just let you play Mordekaiser on stage?
That's how I imagine that conversation went.
Look, we've all been there, you know? You just health trade with bosses because you built the full tank build. Someone called it a dishonest way to play, but I say whatever, you know, whatever gets you there.
Build variety, baby.
That's all you need, just big old shield, 100% physical damage reduction.
Now, SK are kind of turning their attention towards that top outer tower. They would love to unlock it because then it gives you a bit more access into the enemy jungle, sets you up nicely for potential mid play. The Herald's still available for BDS, so I imagine that they're going to want to use that to open up this mid tier 1. They don't have to force it right now, though. Of course, Dragon, Baron, still objectives that are quite far away in terms of time, so I wouldn't be surprised to just see these teams farm for now, keep catching waves, work towards completing those second core items as we enter the mid game.
And one thing that we've seen this split, and certainly in this meta, is that the game has slowed down significantly. I believe our average game time went up almost 4 minutes. That's massive. Average Baron time went up 4 minutes. Teams are just generally going to be slower to close out, and it's also reflected in the action here, right? There's only 8 kills so far, 17.5 minutes into the game. There's only a single Drake taken down. So this game, even by our standards, a little bit slower. However, SK hovering around, looking for the setup. The flash forward for Isma. Now just trying to look for the Q back, but he's just been locked down for so damn long. Isma getting burnt, and already Nisqy is dead too. BDS obliterate that pick in an instant.
A massive commitment from SK. I wonder how much information they had there, because to me it seemed like they thought they'd caught Nuke on a rotation. They thought that, hey, BDS is trying to collapse into mid, they can use the Herald, and we can actually catch Nuke here, get that kill, open up the top tier 1. I don't know if they were expecting this many members from BDS to be there. As they lose 2, they don't even have to commit the Herald to secure the mid tower. And now with the Dragon spawning in about a minute's time, they can save the Herald for the bot tower to create that extra point of pressure. They can also drop it mid if they want.
So what? They see the sweeper come in,
but I mean,
but they don't think they know that Sheo's there.
I mean, that does surprise me, because we see them sweeping out a ward at the bottom. I wonder if they thought that they had the damage to be able to just one-shot Nuke. But yeah, a big overstep there from SK. I am a little confused, but ultimately ends up working out very nicely for BDS. They get 2 kills. Nuke plays that very well. They get the mid tower. That's BDS with a solid advantage here in our first game of the day.
And good read from BDS, having Sheo in the area to cover. SK certainly over eager, but 2K advantage just about the 6 scrubs. They've broken open mid lane tower, and when you look at least ease of execution for the composition overall, Jinx obviously going to do a lot of work on that objective. Rumble, Mordekaiser, they're going to tear through Baron really quickly, and you have the Death Realm to just take Isma out. No smite available for the side of SK if you do ever start that objective with Mordekaiser ult available. So SK, we need to see them look for something, get something back here, because BDS are very comfortable, I think, just taking a step back in this game and continuing to let SK overforce.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ice is just going to continue to scale up, right? We talked about the range advantage that BDS has. With SK stacking on the top side of the map, the fight for mid-wave control continues. Dragon is available, but neither team prioritizing Dragon that heavily at all. It's our second Dragon spawn, and we're 19.5 minutes into the game. Bot has been completely abandoned as SK fully commit to securing this top tier 1.
And it's Leandries from Isma.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that. We didn't talk much about it.
They just don't have any other magic damage. They need more.
Maokai is a champion that, like Corki, seems to have a different patch every other week. Sorry, a different build every other week.
But in this case, this is the build that they've nerfed a ton. This is the build that they're like, no, we're not a fan of that for a long time. Leandry's a different item now, certainly.
Ooh, does Nuke know? I'm gonna say
Setup.
no.
The rock is there. It is very hard to get away from a Skarner, but if you early ult, it'll look good. But now Irrelevant, actually the one running. Labrov stepping up. There's no tower here either. Nisqy has to be careful, staying back. If Irrelevant tanks the CC, Nisqy can get a lot of work done. Isma now coming in as well, but already Irrelevant getting chunked out here. Picked up a big rock, but he's not going to be able to do anything with it. Nuke already grabbing the kill. The ulti from Isma, too damn late. Rahel getting taken out in a 1v1, looks like by Sheo. Everything just fell apart for SK. The rocket to follow, forcing out the flash, and unsurprisingly, BDS get everything they want, start the Baron, and I don't think there's anything SK can do to stop this.
I mean, BDS is just playing very solid with firm control over the top side of the map. SK have to fight this Baron, though.
SK just seem desperate. What are they going to do here? If Adam's quick on the ulti, they can't do anything. The knockup of the Baron is big, though, and it gives Nisqy the access. Nisqy, they don't dodge the raid mechanics, and it's going to cost them. They haven't been playing enough. Wow! The steal coming through. SK through, but BDS through harder, baby. Now they're back on the map.
And just like that, SK have flipped the game on its head. Nisqy with a fantastic TP flank to just tear BDS apart. Secures them the Baron. And again, we saw the collapse of the top side. Irrelevant loses his life, but Isma finds a way into the pit. And keep your eyes on Nisqy on the left-hand side. No Luon with the engage.
I thought it was the Baron.
3-man knock up the damage from Nisqy. My apologies, Luon. I didn't see it live in the play, but you set that whole thing up for your team. And I think we can say, without a doubt, that the changes to this bot lane for SK are proving dividends.
The coach is feeling good. Gift wrap for them, hand delivered to the Alistar. This is why the Corki's been so good. Yes, it's hard to get in range, but if you ever do get in range, you do so much work. Nisqy now at 2.5 items. Luon, beautiful setup. I do not know why I did not see that cow, and it is eating at me, Vedi, but we're just going to have to let that one go. 0-0-7. Warmog's there. 2 items on the carries. This game felt very over right up until that moment.
I was, you know, my whole narrative, literally after that, was going to be like, this is a different SK from when week 1. Are we just seeing a repeat of the week 1? And don't get me wrong, like, there are things that SK is going to go back and they're going to review, and there are things that they need to fix in terms of how this other game played out, because BDS just had very clean macro pretty much in the first 20 minutes of the game.
And the goal difference at the bottom of your screen. BDS,
but also, like, for the record, I don't think BDS's Baron play was the wrong one at all.
No, neither do I.
I think that, like, their options are you either commit to the Baron or you use it to turn and fight, because you know you have a numbers advantage. But, I mean, what can you do against Luon? I mean, that's the individual variant that you can't account for, and Luon makes a superhero play. And now SK is right back in the driver's seat. They're going to secure this objective. And now we have an interesting dynamic, because when it comes to comps, right, you have, I would argue, a much more solid front line from SK. When you've got Maokai plus Skarner plus Alistar, even though this Maokai is building some AP, it's still going to provide a huge amount of utility and just an obnoxious front line for you to have to deal with. Whereas BDS just have a little bit more damage across the board. The Mordekaiser, while you could argue acts as a form of front line, remember that his ultimate literally removes 2 people from the fight. Yeah. So it ends up just becoming a 4v4. Which is why I think it's going to be a super interesting dynamic as to how these upcoming fights are executed. BDS find a nice angle where they're able to secure another tower in the mid lane. The tier 2 falls, the top lane being exchanged in favor of SK. The Baron is about to wear off. A solid advantage gained for SK. But now we kind of return to that neutral zone as third items are now starting to be crafted for both these teams. We're getting closer and closer to that mid to late game portion where the fights are going to be way more important, how you maneuver around the map, getting caught out, all these things become a big factor in ultimately determining the outcome of the game.
I think one of the good news moments for BDS is they did build in a big enough lead early game that wasn't as devastating as it could have been, and then SK weren't able to grab a lot of Drakes early on, so they're still 2 minutes away from the next one. Luon again looking to get things kicked off. Maokai out to follow. Rahel waiting to use his ult in the meantime. That's going to be the equalizer across the top. Excellent follow from Labrov. The fight feels like it's over before it's even started. The rest of SK just hasn't found their angle to participate. Sheo now going golden. Somebody needs to body block. Somebody needs to stop the Corki for hitting, and this time it is Adam. Irrelevant taken out by Nuke, and BDS quick to punish in the jungle.
And we come back to the coordination issues that we've been seeing from SK so far in this game. They were disjointed in whether they wanted to commit to that fight. BDS collectively were all moving towards that blue buff, and they said, as a team, we want to make sure that we can fight for this objective. This time, though, SK get punished. WKX.
Ulti immediately. Q, auto. Done. Rahel tries to make up for the earlier missteps by just popping out of nowhere and taking out Ice.
Good kill. But we look back and you look at the minimap right now, look at the position of Nisqy, look at Irrelevant. You don't want to fight for this blue buff. So Luon committing to the fight, it's a difficult one to follow up on. I like the play from Irrelevant kind of catching Ice off on the backside, but Nisqy can't really get involved. The moment that the carries do arrive, you can see how hesitant Rahel is to commit because he knows, I don't have my Corki, I don't have my Skarner yet. And this was similar to that top lane play in the same area where we saw both Isma and Nisqy going in. And it feels like coordination from SK has definitely been off in this game, whereas BDS working as a collective much better. But I guess you could argue in terms of individual execution, like Luon with his great engage, Rahel finding another pick, Nisqy with his great flanks. It feels like that SK is still finding these hero moments from their individuals.
Yeah, and the team play obviously something that's going to be critical as we go later in the season, but in a game where you start off at such a deficit, individual stepping up, you'll take what you can get. Rahel continues to be that threat, opting for the Nashers, opting for more magic damage to come out in this build. Wants to be that threat. The poke is going to hit that much harder as
we've got this new graphic as well, Drako, so we can show the team fight damage and all the damage distribution as well. So hopefully later we can have a look at that.
We can actually see Kai'sa damage distribution.
What the damage distribution has been like across the team. Nisqy being left freely to hit onto this tower. He is going to be forced to disengage away. But Dragon spawning in about 25 seconds with SK mounting up to, we have it for us right here.
Okay, so far,
primarily physical.
Almost entirely physical damage. But now, that might start to change.
But look at the amount of magic damage coming out from Skarner as well, up on the top side.
Little split.
Yeah.
Tiny bit of Maokai true damage. We'll have to see it. All right, here we SK. Go. Eyes on the prize here. Looking for third Drake.
Finished as well for Isma, so he's going to have a little bit more durability, ready for this dragon. SK putting themselves up nicely for the soul point, but it looks like BDS are just conceding it. Dragons are not their thing, which...
But Baron is going to be up in 5 seconds. They just want to get set up onto Baron. They can take it out so quick. They want redemption from the earlier play. Okay, soul point Third Drake, Hextech, picked up by SK. All members now moving up. BDS a little bit split here. What's the angle? Do they want the fight or do they want the objective? Poke onto Luon, taking away Celestial opposition. Beautiful highlight from the observers here. They don't have perfect information on where BDS are. As long as the equalizer is up and available, SK really can't afford to walk into any choke. Both sides should see each other. The A-Ram fully set up.
Nisqy being on the bottom side means that the wave clear isn't the strongest, but it's BDS that actually get pushed back. Again, we talk about this, right? Like, the front line of SK is very scary. BDS needs to try and leverage their range. So far, the poke isn't really connecting.
But SK, Rahel is hitting every single Void Seeker, reducing the cooldown even further.
Here's what I will tell you. Double Warmogs against a poke comp, huge amount of value.
Oh, incredible.
Right? Like, you just have Luon and Isma like face checking, they take that initial poke, you disengage, get the heal back, right? And I feel like that they're taking advantage of this very well. None of the poke that they're connecting, as long as it doesn't hit onto Nisqy or Rahel, SK feel very comfortable in these standoff positions because the counter poke coming out from Rahel and Nisqy, well, even though Nisqy's poke isn't the same as it was, it's still there. And the more you hit, the more it'll last.
And Nisqy going for some aggressive itemization here. Profane Hydra Corki.
Oh my goodness. Why do they... Corkis, I need you guys to stop cooking.
Because they push E, they get in your face, and they hit you with the Hydra.
And you guys come up with 4 more. Like,
Where's Genja? You know, where is he? We need the one true Corki build.
It's true. There are people watching this stream who have no idea who Genja is.
He built Triforce Corki before it was good on a patch where it wasn't actually good,
Wasn't
and then when it happened, like 4 years
thing?
later, yes, that was good though.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, he knew all along.
Yeah, Time Lord Genja. I mean,
poke on Nisqy is good though.
Innovators for many things in League.
Heck yeah, Diamond Procs. I believe considered the inventor of counter juggling. As strange as it is to say that out loud, at a certain point, people just didn't even consider going into the enemy jungle and taking their stuff.
Darian, the Renekton.
It was a much more gentlemanly esport back then, you know? This is mine and that is yours. So you kind of just divvy it up 50-50.
Not to go down history too much, but like they had the whole Darian, I think it was Darian Gangplank tech where he could solo red buff. Well, then Diamond Procs would counter jungle.
You remember when Gangplank used to just walk into mid lane as the creeps were spawning, kill a minion so enemy mid couldn't get level 2 and then go top?
That's really old school, bro.
It was good stuff. The poke, though, as we center back in,
I have to apologize, audience, because I said that BDS had the range advantage.
No.
Clearly,
we forgot that the Kai'Sa, even after 2 items that could indicate going either way on the build path, could just build AP.
I mean, look, Rahel
cannot miss.
Like, look at this. Now the Baron's up for the taking.
TP coming back into mid. Nuke on the way. BDS don't have the best access to the pit. Again, the front line isn't that strong. Luon now just body blocking, acting like a bouncer. The equalizer across the top. Isma gets the smite. Baron picked up by SK.
And hits on the way out. Rahel doing so much work with the Kai'Sa. And now SK, they get an uncontested Baron. And impressive stuff.
And I gotta say, the team play, much looser today than it has been in the other games from SK, but Rahel and Luon continue to have these incredible standout moments. It wasn't clear how good they were gonna be when they didn't have something with a little bit more impact in the early game. But the answer we're seeing now is even when they're falling behind on a Kai'Sa Alistar early on, there's still this massive threat. And still most of the Kai'Sa damage is physical.
Which does confuse me somewhat.
Because
I feel like for the last 5 minutes I've just been seeing
every W.
Every W. Now, one thing I can check.
Give us the info. Give us the insight.
No, it's all just magic damage.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Also, right now, apparently, 542 magic damage per W.
So what we've learned is... Oh, God! 1, that does a lot of damage, and 2, it might not be showing up in our chart correctly.
Yeah, it might not be.
What I can tell you is that hurts, and now the Maokai poke, despite this getting nerfed on a lot of patches, does still hurt a little bit. You can see Ice didn't take too much damage there, but even if they get hit and slowed down a little bit, it means Rahel can immediately follow up with some more damage.
I underestimated this SK comp, I'm gonna be honest. I thought that they would have a range issue. I was very wrong. My interpretation of how they play this, I mean, it feels like SK just don't have the options, right? Like, I guess the other challenge is, even if you do engage, you just kind of have to get through Alistar and Skarner as well. So how does BDS even find a good fight?
Also, generally, with Corki being so strong at close range, walking into him is generally not the strategy that's approved.
Here we go.
Bit of poke. Labrov that wants to kick things off. Immediate pullback. Obliterate fall from Adam. Rockets now coming in. BDS trying to take the fight as best they can. Irrelevant nowhere near the rest of his team. Already Adam has been picked up. Ice slowed down for a moment. The flash to fall from Irrelevant. He's not going to hit anybody with the Impale. Ice and Nuke back-to-back, backing off. SK get the advantage in the fight. 2 kills picked up to 1. Only Isma dropped in the meantime, but SK now don't have access to their jungler. Soul on the table if they want to go for it, but they have to risk the 50-50. Sheo alive, smite and flash.
Get into this pit. Irrelevant doesn't have the ultimate available. Rahel
going over the wall. Rahel doesn't have any mana, but he doesn't need any. Rahel on a rampage. The objective getting lower and lower. Sheo might want to try and flash follow up, and Rahel just goes invisible. He goes gold, and he takes his time. A double kill for the AD carry of SK.
This SK bot lane has stood up today. An incredible performance. Now Labrov.
Labrov is going to die.
Another ace.
Celestial opposition, taking their time. Blast cone back, down he goes. Rahel dominating 6, 1, and 3.
I mean, level 18 to level 15 between the two AD carries. We look back, the engage, look who it's on the front line. Nisqy and Rahel completely safe. Irrelevant on the flank. Yes, it's true that Isma loses his life, but the damage has already been done. They cannot get through Luon, and so Nuke and Ice just don't have the same impact in the fights that Nisqy and Rahel do. Then they just return to this range battle, they continue to land the poke, and then the second that Rahel sees his opportunity, he dives.
Just the second Ice walks away for even a moment, the second they're not standing on top of each other and he can find that isolated 1v1, he goes for it. And again, the way this game started looked like it was probably going to be a BDS victory lap. Clean play on the top side into the Baron, but then they overstay. Luon finds the engage. Nisqy's there to follow up, and since then, it has just been the Rahel show. Yes, all of SK are participating, but this man is making a montage out of BDS right now.
I mean, SK have to feel great right now. So much skepticism surrounded the addition of this bot lane. SK said they needed to make change. Who would have thought that this is the type of change we'd see? On pace to go 4-0. Here in the Summer Split as they secure another tower. The poke continues.
Soul. It's infuriating. Every little bit of damage, the slow coming through. SK keeping the pressure up. Of course, don't have the Baron buff quite yet. 1:40. Should still be favored in that fight. There are ways for BDS to fight their way out of this one. It's not insurmountable, but Hex Soul. Most games really does feel unbeatable when you're also at a gold deficit.
I mean, credit to BDS in terms of their early game. I love the map movements they were making, the prioritization on the grubs. Everything they did for the first 20 minutes was genuinely great.
It was just that Alistar headbutt pulverized 3 people.
Luon, it was like, I love that comic from Skyen that he made for Fnatic, you know, the Time's Up one.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of just what the bot lane of SK said, like, oh, we're good. And yeah, I mean, impressive stuff. Like, they still, again, I think there's still things, a lot of takeaways for SK. This was not a flawless game from them, but you definitely can't be upset with the individuals stepping up and how they've played these later game fights. Great patience from SK. They've been using their poke very effectively. It continues to land. Rahel just keeps connecting those Ws. And it's this funny battle, right? Where you go, we lock in Corki, and you're like, we're gonna outrange you with Varus, and then you go, we're gonna outrange you again with Kai'Sa. Like, progressively, it just gets longer and longer, the poke, and I mean, BDS just don't quite have the engage tools to close that gap onto Rahel.
And I feel like they just have to get so aggressive onto Rahel to stop this from working. They can see multiple members of SK away from them. Nuke takes a ton of damage just for walking up. Isma now trying to find a good angle. Again, the headbutt pulverized. Rahel off to the side. He can just jump on a Nuke and one-tap him. Sheo can try to follow up, but there's a Zanya waiting for him. Rahel taking his sweet time. Cleanses out. He's still standing. Do not mess with this man. SK's got his back. It's a double for the Corki, a double for the Kai'Sa, and it feels like another win for SK.
It's a clean ace for SK. A fantastic fight with the soul at their back. Means that they just wipe BDS out, and they're going to go 4-0 in the Summer Split.
It might not have been clean early on, but mid to late it has been the SK show. Rahel and Luon backed by their top side, dominating BDS, moving on to 4-0, ready tomorrow to face Fnatic.
Impressive stuff. I mean, SK already They won't have locked it yet. We cannot mathematically confirm it, but they are so close to securing a spot in playoffs already. This level of play we were not expecting from SK. And again, we saw some positives from BDS, but ultimately at the end of the game, like I think it came down to a comp issue. Like they couldn't find the fights that they wanted.
I mean, at that point in the game, when Kai'Sa has that kind of advantage, if you're ever low, she's always going to isolate you. But SK looking fantastic. Your Kia player of the game at LEC on X, Nisqy, Rahel, or Luon.
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, pick your poison. All I'll say is you can hear in every interview, SK doesn't want to get overexcited. They've been here before. They've been off to a good start. So I'll get excited for them. SK look terrifying. We're going to talk to Isma after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Red Bull gives you wings.